What if you took Short Round from Temple of Doom, but not at like the super cute kid phase? No. We want him at that awkward teenage time, right? And we put him in a martial arts film, huh? No, not sold yet? Okay, tell you what. We'll make up for that by putting in Bolo from from Bloodsport, yeah? No? You want more? Okay. What if I threw in a guy who looked like Woody Harrelson doing an impression of Michael Douglas, specifically in Wall Street? Oh, fine. We'll put Bolo in a dress. Yeah, see, I knew they'd get you on board. Welcome to Half-Ass Movie Podcast. Welcome back to Half-Ass Movie Podcast. My name is a show where we put together a half-ass movie. Wow, terrible. My name's Adam Portress. Joining me today, he looks like Gordon Gekko hit him with a bit of radiation. Sweet Sean Zakovacs from the internet.
If there's one thing this movie has taught me, it's that there's nothing that can't be solved with karate.
Mm-mm. And he's just bummed that Bolo didn't bounce them boobies. Bruce Leslie.
I love a movie that proves you don't need lights.
No, you don't need lights. You don't need any kind of editing or choreography or maybe even a script. Who knows? February and our theme, the song of Huy Quan, a ride through one of cinema's greatest stories. That's a great title still. I don't care. It comes to a close this week with Breathing Fire from 1991, a movie with neither fire nor breathing. I don't really know where they pulled that one from.
It's hot.
Hot. This was hot at the box office. I didn't check the box office, but my guess is this probably burned them down there.
Well, it was direct-to-video.
What?
It has to be, right? I mean, there's no way.
It was direct-to-video. Yeah, that's part of the 4:3 formatting too.
So were the Grauman's Chinese Theater pictures I've seen AI? What was? Okay, maybe I've been looking at the wrong thing.
They all worked there. That was a Chinese restaurant.
Okay, my fault. I must have gotten my Google messed up.
That's how they found a lot of their cast, was at local eateries.
Well, I know that most folks out there haven't heard of Breathing Fire from 1991, starring Huy Quan, and Bolo Young is probably the biggest name that you'll probably find in this thing, and that's not even the biggest name in the world, let's be honest. But we're going to talk about that and see if it's all worth it, and if this was a worthy way to round out our Huy Quan month here and everything. Do us a favor, though. Subscribe to this show if you haven't already, and if you're on the YouTube, man, throw us a like and a comment for your mom. Of course, comments will be read on next week's show. Here are a few comments from last week when we asked you guys to leave a comment for your mom in regards to the Goonies. First up, we got our buddy Matthew Vandiver writes in. He says, I think I can track down the beginning of my love for the alternate versions of films to the Goonies. I watched this movie a lot as a kid, and being an observant one thing that bugged me for many years was this moment. Data, the octopus was very scary. Reporter, octopus? Data, it was very dangerous. Many years later, I watched the movie on TV, and there was a scene with an octopus in it. I was stunned. I couldn't believe they cut a whole sequence from the film and still left in such a blatant reference to it at the end. Now I see why they cut out the octopus scene. It's weird, not particularly well done, and slows down the pace, and I know they couldn't cut the line at the end because of all the characters talking over one another, as you do in real life, and Andy immediately chiming in with, the scariest thing was walking the plank. Still, it irked me. Now I love alternate cuts and fan edits, and he writes in for his mom here, hey mom, I can't help but wonder what went through your mind at me watching the penile statuary destruction bit. Rest assured, I didn't get it, and it took me many years to realize that One-Eyed Willie was a penis joke. Thanks for our good buddy Matthew Vandiver for that comment. And next one, this one, the plot thickens, fellas. Strap in for this comment. Dear son, fine, Dr. Clayton Forrester, I don't know where you got this idea that I like these podcasts. Reading back your messages to me is very weird. Do you know why I woke up from that peaceful coma? To turn off that damn podcast. Then, when I finally get back home, the next podcast is playing through the house. I couldn't take it anymore, and I took the toaster to the bathroom.
Oh, no!
And by the way, why are you posting about my medical issues on the YouTube comment section? Ever heard of HIPAA? Most likely not, since you're not even a real doctor. Just because these guys gave you a nickname doesn't mean that everyone has to start calling you that. I've told you many times there's no Gizmonic Institute, and you need to stop waiting for the call from them. Get a job and move on with your life. Just look at the Chinaman in parenthetical boy.
Oh, man.
He was known for one thing, and now he's back on top. Well, until his last movie tanked him. Happy? No comment about his eyes, all right? But you got to admit. I left this message. I think that's his mom calling again. I left this message here since it seems to be the only thing you pay attention to anymore. Your mom, are we sure? Pearl Forrester.
For the record, I did talk to Clayton Forrester, and he is a naturopathic doctor of podiatry, so he's got that going for him.
Listen, he can keep his madness to himself over there, and we hope. You know what's really funny is my ex-wife is almost a dead ringer for Pearl Forrester. Big, tall, blonde lady and everything, mean to everybody. It makes sense.
Mary Jo Peel?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. At least, yeah, a younger, like, the Pearl Forrester, not. I know what
you
know what I mean. Not the old lady that she kind of started out
as. Not the character, right?
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
You too can leave a comment for your mom over there on the YouTube. While you're there, go ahead and hit that like button, the subscribe button, turn on the notifications. We're dropping not only this podcast but other videos and reviews. Recently, I dropped a review for Paddington in Peru. I got a react video on CED video disc. Much more on the way, so head on over to that YouTube page. Links are going to be there in the show notes for you. Thank you guys so much for your support. Leave the comment for your mom if you can. And if you love us, if you really love us, why don't you head on over to patreon.com/HMP, pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. And this week on Dinger Zone, if you are a longtime fan of Hero Movie Podcast, we are now HMP Volume 2 here, but if you're a fan of Volume 1, you'll know that for the last 5 years, we have been doing a Lone Wolf and Cub movie from that series every February. And since we're on to HMP Volume 2, we were still short one film, that's 6 film. But we are covering that this week over on the Dinger Zone and everything. So that's Lone Wolf and Cub, White Heaven in Hell. And man, oh man, what a way to end out a whole six movie run there, dude. Whew. I'm excited to talk about that. So
it's right up there with The Crow and its legendary status.
This and The Crow, neck and neck.
I had way more fun with Lone Wolf and Cub than I did with the leave-ins of the Crow franchise. But at the end,
I would watch whatever the worst one of these is 5 times before that Crow stuff. Man, it's so bad,
without a doubt.
So head on over there to patreon.com/HMP. Join up at any level. We really appreciate that. And remember, if Mark Maron saw you in the street, he'd spit in your face. If you saw one of us, brother, you'd be getting one of the biggest high fives you ever seen coming your way. Patreon.com/HMP. Or just drop us an email at halfassmoviepod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Well, let's get into it, boys.
For the record, don't expect too many high fives from me and Sean. We take it on a case-by-case basis.
You're right.
Guys.
They like hugs more. I initially was going to write hugs in there, but I changed it to high fives just for you guys, just on account of, because I'll give them a hug.
I do that kid and play slap your ankles against each other thing.
That's nice. Let's get into it, fellas. Here's the IMDb plot line for Breathing Fire. As we know, IMDb 100% correct in everything they say and or do. Now, this one's actually rad because there wasn't a plot line provided until this enterprising individual came along and wrote one, so I'm super happy for that. Michael, a Vietnam vet with 2 kids, pulls off a bank heist with his gang, which includes the bank's manager. To ensure the loyalty of everyone involved, Mike makes a special set of keys so that the hiding place for the loot can be opened if all the members are present. The bank manager gets cold feet and tries to back out, so Mike and his buddies kill him and his wife. But his daughter gets a hold of the key and runs for help to David, one of her father's old friends who also happens to be a Vietnam vet and former comrade of Michael's. Will David be able to protect his friend's daughter? That comes from John Mark Rothscher, who is a FiberNet guy, or FiberBit, sorry. This is written by Raymond Mahoney, who only wrote this. Tao Ling Tan, story by credit there, and a small-time producer. Wayne Yee, who's an actor in No Retreat, No Surrender, also a small-time producer. Directed by 3 people here. Lou Kennedy, this is the only thing he ever did. Brandon Penner directed some UWF wrestling. I'm not sure what that is, but it sounds like pretty low rent. And an uncredited Brandon DeWild. So it's good when you got 3 directors on here and they all have an "and" in between all the names. So here's a little hint for people. whether it be writing or directing, I think directing might be a little bit different, but certainly for writing, when you see and, like A-N-D, that means there's the second person was, a secondary writer on it. They didn't write it in tandem with the first one, but if you have the ampersand, they wrote that together with the other person. I always found that interesting.
They're in the same room, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
The ampersand.
This is, of course, starring Huy Quan, Eddie Savarda, Ed Neal, Jemmy Trimble, and featuring in drag, Bolo Young.
Well, for the first scene.
Well, yeah, but, listen.
Yeah.
It's only one. It felt like it went on forever.
He also was in the bathroom. It was an extended sequence.
Which is, it's the same sequence.
But good stuff.
Different shot, though.
No, I don't think anybody had ever even heard of Breathing Fire, much less had seen it before, I would guess, yeah?
It really kills me that I didn't see this in 1992, because I really wish I had. This would have hit me so much more perfectly back then. Even not that it's a bad time now, but boy, this would have been one of my favorite movies that I made people watch for years if I'd seen it in 1992.
I would not have been able to appreciate it in 1992. 1992, Sean wasn't able to watch really bad movies without a high level of scorn and hatred thrown at the movie. Where these days, I love watching bad movies that are this sort of bad. Like this is the kind of bad movie where, like, it's almost like a reward that you watch the movie. It doesn't punish you with its badness. Like, I think that a lot of people make that mistake with a lot of bad, like when you watch bad movies, like, oh man, we should watch this movie. It's the worst thing ever made. And it's just, it's just like a punishment having to watch it. This movie does not punish you by watching it. This movie, as a matter of fact, this movie has the thing where, like, it keeps surprising you in the ways that it's bad, which is just the best kind of bad movie, because it's not only poorly acted and edited, and like the soundtrack is awful and the acting is just atrociously
bad. I'm glad you used that word, because that's exactly where I was going. Atrocious.
And it happens over and over and over again, just in different ways. Like, when you're let's say you're watching a bad movie, like something like Brave New World, right? Let's say you're watching the new Captain America Brave New World movie. Mm-hmm. That movie is bad, but that movie's bad in a way where you're just like, I cannot believe they spent this much money and time on this thing. And when clearly all they had to do was X and Y, and this would be fine. Mm-hmm. This movie here,
you need every letter in the alphabet to fix this one.
This movie is literally written, directed, acted, edited, and performed. And like, the sound is performed by people who worked at a karate dojo.
Pretty much.
Now, I don't know if you guys ran across this, or if I'm introducing some novel information to you or to any of the listeners, but this movie is a remake of a 1977 Hong Kong film.
Well, now, it feels like a Hong Kong film for sure, because it's all over the place.
I can't imagine it's a faithful remake, because if it is, why would you remake it? But having said that, I want this movie to be remade with the original cast in present day with like $150 million budget. I think that's what's missing, is $150 million.
Oh, that's all. That's the differentiating point, is the money.
There's also the fact that this movie was written by dumb people who think that they're smart and clever. Like, there's that problem with it too. And like, take the giant novelty key in the fake pizza idea. I am quite sure somebody thought they were being very, very clever when they wrote that and like put that into the script. That is the dumbest idea ever.
Gentlemen,
the only thing I can think is this is 1992, and I wonder if that pizza gimmick was an attempt to capture some of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans, because that had just become the most popular, or the most financially successful independent movie in a very long time.
It was 100% on account of that. I can guarantee you it's pizza on account of Ninja Turtles. I have zero doubt in that. I really, really do.
And you've got teenagers, you've got pizza. You could say you kind of have ninja type folks, and you definitely have a mutant in Bolo Young. So yeah, they had all the four things ticked. It's just no turtles.
Yeah, that's what this was absolutely missing, was a science fiction element. Could you imagine?
Well, let's talk about that.
let's talk about the casting for a second, because the casting is really the issue here, right? Because you've got your two mains are KQ Kwan and the white kid, right? Like those are your mains.
In my notes, I call him Temu Zach Morris because he kind of had a Zach Morris vibe, but not
he
quite.
Does a little bit. And also, man, that guy can haul ass. Like every time he runs, I was like, holy cow, that dude's outrunning KQ Kwan. Like now, he's very fast. Anyway, the part of casting that I want to talk about, because it's very specific, is the main bad guy who is the dad to KQ Kwan and Temu Zach Morris,
who I didn't realize his name is Michael Moore.
Oh, it is Michael Moore. That's funny.
It's the same guy too. It's strange.
So the main villain in this movie is the guy who also robs the bank and puts the keys in the pizza, because that's what smart people do. What I'm trying to figure out is, why do you cast that guy? Because he clearly is someone who has a visible, the second you see him, you're like, oh, that guy completely shattered the bridge of his nose. Right. So he is instantly recognizable. So you're going to put him in makeup, in a disguise, and that's going to be enough that people don't recognize this guy with a very clearly shattered nose when he's just being his regular self later. It's so shocking to me that no one is going to mistake that this guy who's clearly like spray hair spraying his hair gray and wearing a clearly fake mustache into thinking he's some old person. No one on earth would think that.
It was so great because it was just like, hey, listen, when he's putting that on, he's putting the mustache on with the authority of no one's gonna catch me now.
Hey, it fooled me.
It's ridiculous, but the funny part is like, I'm trying to think, he may be the worst actor with the most to do in this movie.
Yeah.
Now, there was a big time celebrity that was attached to be Temu Zach Morris, and he had to back out of the project.
Who was that?
None other than Jason David Frank, the man who would later become the Green Ranger, Tommy.
Hey, he'd have been a good spot for this movie for sure.
Yeah, he actually did have some martial arts skills and such, but I don't know why his casting fell through, but I imagine it's because he picked up the Power Rangers gig, which was a more reliable paycheck, I would suspect, than this thing.
Oh, and yeah. For years. I mean,
yeah.
He made the right move.
The closest thing they had to a breakout star in that first cast.
Mm-hmm.
You talking to me that the Green Ranger? No.
I've got I have a million questions, right? So the cast. So we've kind of gotten the casting, because you're good. You can get Bolo Young. It makes sense to bring in Bolo Young. Like he's a known quantity to a certain fan,
and he's
the person who's going to see the cover of Breathing Fire in a VHS at their video store is probably, and goes, ooh, and Bolo Young's in it. Like that's a good casting.
I feel like what meager financial backing they had probably went largely to get Bolo Young, and Huy Quan probably got a better paycheck than his co-stars too. But I would imagine that was sort of their, particularly since he's not a massive part of the movie, but he sells the movie. I would imagine that was just like a major investment to get him cast and get his name attached to it, especially in '92 when Bloodsport's at its peak.
Well, when you look at the poster, right, that at least the one that they show up on IMDb, right, it's singularly Bolo Young. His name is first, Bolo Young, Ed Neal, underneath the Ultimate Kickboxing Showdown, and underneath the little thing underneath the Breathing Fire title is Brothers, one white, one Vietnamese, administer justice.
And interestingly, no kickboxing in this.
No, well, I mean, there's some karate fighting that you might could take
karate,
as some kickboxing
not,
sort of.
I've seen both kickboxer and blood sport. I know the difference in a blood sport and a kickbox.
I'll at least give him this. Like, as silly and dumb as it is, it's kind of fun having the karate tournament as your sort of bookends for everything.
I do have to say, I don't understand why they intercut the bank robbery with the karate championship.
Basically, just showing that Dad was a bad guy, and like really kind of the worst father if you think about it. I have 2 sons that are both in this karate tournament. Well, just dropping you off. See you later. Peace out. So bad.
It's the world's strangest All Valley Championship where middle-aged men fight kids.
Yes.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Everybody's 35 to 45 years old. And they're always like I got to go kick the crap out of these small 15-year-olds.
I understand they were going for some authenticity with those foam rubber cuirasses that people were wearing, but they just didn't look good in the fight scenes on camera either.
It could have been worse. I mean, like of all the stuff that I have to complain about this movie, and there's plenty. That's the least of them. I'm like, it's all right.
There are so many bad choices. I mean, this movie is like chock-a-block full of bad choices. Like for instance, I don't know whose idea it was that when you're in a bank, right, for the bank robbery scene. That is the most well-attended bank ever. There's like 40 people in there for some reason. Why are there so many people at the bank for the bank robbery scene?
That was back when you still got free toasters when you opened
it
an
makes
account.
no sense at all. And it's one of those things where I'm like, so you're trying to like you're on a micro budget of a movie. So are these just investors that you brought into the bank? Like, why would you have
exactly what I thought was?
Why would you have this many people? It's insane. It looks crazy when you're watching it.
It felt like one of those things. Give at least $500 and you get to be in a movie.
Probably.
Like, I don't think it was a large amount of money either, due to the sheer number of people they had. But it feels like that. Like, yeah, if you pay us, you can be an extra.
They got
and so like and so like more bad choices, right? So like not only is it the most well-attended bank in Southern California, but also so they break into the bank vault, right? They finally break into the bank vault, and there's just stacks of gold in this bank for, like all banks have. They just have stacks of gold in their bank.
Show me your gold that's on file, please.
Here's a real practical question. Let's just say I had a big box filled with bars of gold, like multiple troy ounces of gold. How does a regular person turn that into money? You go to the pawn shop? Like, what do you do with your gold to turn it into, like, you can't really buy a lot with just gold these days.
You see, Bruce, you got to be a smelter, right? You smelt them down, you make a couple of individual rings, and then you take those rings to various pawn shops throughout the tri-state area, sell them off one by one until eventually you've got your money. You're welcome.
Sounds like for the same amount of work, I could just get a job.
No, you need a broker, right? I mean, that's like that is the most important person in this heist would be the broker, your gold broker.
Well, nobody's broker than my brother, so I'd let him handle it.
Oh, for fuck's sake. So the, oh my God, it's like swimming upstream some days.
Mm-hmm.
So like, not only, because again, we're talking about like just the poor choices of the people of the movie makers, right? So now, not only do you have a really well-attended bank, and the bank vault has like stacks and stacks of gold. Then on top of that, once they get into the vault, what would probably be the most interesting thing about the heist, which is how are we going to transport these gold bars to our vault? They just cut that part out altogether. And now we're in a vault at a metal foundry somewhere. And everyone's just standing around like, how did you transport all of this very, very heavy gold? Like, there's no mention of it. It's just like, well, here we are in our vault now, and we've got all the gold. And it is a script written by people who thought that they were smart, and they're basically showing us their hand. Oh, you are not good at screenwriting.
Oh, I've got your answer. It's 1991. They took all those out in JanSports, man. Those things are indestructible. Come on.
A legitimate writing question is, why not just have them steal cash?
Right. There's no reason for it to be gold. Like,
did somebody already happen to like have a bunch of prop gold and they insisted on using it?
Yes, that's the answer.
Gotta be it.
By the way, speaking of props, what happened at the beginning of this movie, right? Because
Okay, that's the very first thing I wanted to ask about.
we
Especially when
panned
we're
through
talking
this
about
entire thing, and I'm like, look at all this fake ass prop food, and I'm like, they could have gotten better props, but then we get to the end, and the guy looks like he's making prop food, and then do we ever come back to that? I don't remember.
Well, the very first scene really, really felt like a time stop. Like when I was watching it, I thought, oh, so this is the movie. The bad guy can stop time. How in the world are they going to defeat a guy who can stop time? Because there's even like fake prop popcorn floating in the air. And I thought all this fake prop food is because they're trying to like make us think that time is standing still while this guy works on his pizza. And I don't understand that opening scene. And like you said, nothing ever comes back to it really.
It is really off-putting when you're in the middle of that scene and you're like, so prop food is going to be a big part of this movie? What?
And if I may ask just kind of like a basic set dressing question, don't almost every room they go in look like a mess? Like it really looks like somebody took a pillowcase full of stuff and just spun 360 degrees, and their answer was, let's get as many things into this room as possible.
Well, the issue is that they're using actual locations, and they're using people's actual like businesses and homes and things like that. So it all looks a little bit off because when you're shooting on the cheap, you're like, oh, I don't need to think about set dressing because it looks like somebody's house because it is somebody's house. And whenever you do that, it always looks bizarre.
At least tidy up a little before you let the guy bring his camera in your bedroom.
Let me tell you something. The floor in Huy Quan's room is absolutely disgusting. It looks like it looks like somebody has been murdered in there, and the carpet has not been vacuumed in nigh on a decade. It is disgusting.
Can I tell you guys? This is because I was telling you during the pre-show, available on patreon.com. I was telling you during the pre-show that like the first 5 minutes of this movie, I was like, oh no, this is the worst movie ever. But what got me is a couple minutes later, you have the transition of the three craziest scenes I've ever seen sandwiched together before. And from that moment on, I was like, oh, we're on. Like, this is the movie we're watching. This movie is amazing. And here are the three scenes, right? Mm-hmm. We go from cockamamie pressing your keys into the fake prop pizza, which the keys are like hilariously novelty big keys for some reason.
This is a Kingdom Hearts key, everybody. This thing's huge.
They look like they're made of tin or something extremely malleable, so they wouldn't be a great key material to begin with.
And then you go from that scene to the very weirdly edited karate ceremony where you're getting the trophies handed to the kids. And there's something very like pornography feeling about that scene for some reason that I can't explain to you. It's very off-putting. The ceremony, the karate ceremony scene. And then from there, then you go to the clandestine meeting in the garage parking lot with the bank manager who's in on the theft. Mm-hmm. And that's also weird. And he wants out and like, oh, you're making a huge mistake. And they force the fake pizza into his pocket for some reason, instead of just killing him in the parking lot basement, where no one would know. Like no one would know who did it. It's not like there's a ton of cameras around at this point. It's 1992. Like I'm sure there's closed circuit TVs, but it's probably at the entrance and the exits. Yeah. Like no one's ever gonna know who's who. And then to have the cherry on top, what made it just the greatest is they go from that to that bank manager going home where his wife and daughter are throwing him a surprise birthday party. And he's seen too much. He's like, no, I can't. And he immediately leaves the surprise birthday party. And the daughter has a tear running down her cheek because she's so upset that her dad walked away from his surprise birthday party. It is the greatest movie ever made. From this point forward, I'm like, I'm all in. I don't care. I'm going to buckle in because this is going to be a wild ride for the next hour and 20 minutes. Blessedly, hour and 20 minute long movie, the best. And
it feels like it's 3 hours though. This
does feel
movie
like
took
it's
me
3 hours
forever
long.
to watch.
I also wanted to see a scene that we never got because they destroyed the original keys, but I want to see him trying to put the parts back together like some kind of puzzle, because that's not going to be an easy job.
There is something like I'm sure there is a scene somewhere, probably on the writer's room floor, where because he's already stolen all the gold, right? Like we learn at the end that Mike has stolen all the gold already. And how exactly was he supposed to get in there? It has to be that he reassembled the keys.
Yeah, I figure if you're making copies of keys and stuff, you always have your own that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
And a question that I probably should have gotten to earlier in our conversation, but I just want to know your guys' take on this. Was this shot on 16 millimeter?
No.
You think it was shot on 35?
It is shot on 35.
Probably.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it looks bad for 35.
Well, they're not using any lights. There's no lighting in this movie.
It really feels like a quality J.R. Bookwalter shot on 8 millimeter kind of look to it.
And
But yeah, I guess the lights would be part of it. And also maybe the developing process wasn't done as with as much nuance as it could have been.
Then you've got the horrible transfer over to video. So you have about 5 stages where this can go straight to poop, and it wasn't great to begin with.
I'll be honest with you. I don't even think that there's balance happening with the camera. I don't think they even put white balance in front of it.
I would like it better if I found out it was shot on 16 millimeter or 8 millimeter even. That would really be a winner.
Well, 16 millimeter, if you blow that up, right, it looks like the first Evil Dead movie, which this doesn't look like.
And well, also though, this never had to be blown up because it was direct to video.
Oh, right, maybe.
So you could shoot this on 16 millimeter, go straight to your VHS transfer, and you don't get that degradation you would get when you're trying to go 16 millimeter to a 35 millimeter.
I got to tell you, just the quality of the video itself, though, it feels like they shot it on 35.
Well, it might be. I was just curious about that. It looked like it was shot on cheap film, whatever it was.
Hey, look, let me tell you something right now. That producer walked up to his financier and he said, I don't know what you know, but have you seen a little film called The Temple of Doom? Thank you. We're shooting this on 35, you garbage monster, and I won't hear otherwise.
I would have found out it was shot on 70.
we got that full frame 70 millimeter on this bad boy, and we put it straight to home video. That sounds about right.
A 4:3 format.
So,
Uncle, I want to talk about the uncle real fast. Or he's not really. What is he technically? I
Danny,
guess
he's uncle.
Is he uncle?
Yeah, they call him Uncle whatever because he fought with Mike in Vietnam.
Yeah, again, I felt that was very kind of same Hong Kong kind of movie. It's just like he's uncle,
Yeah.
He's great. I think he actually may be the worst actor. I think Michael Douglas Jr. is probably the second worst actor. I think Uncle's got to be the worst actor of all of them. He is real poor.
Something I always get a chuckle out of because comic books do this a lot, but I call it the free baby trope. Whereas if you find a baby, you get it. You get to keep it. It's like a finder's keeper's rule with babies. And I really wanted to see the scene where he's getting that baby through customs. You came to Vietnam a single man, and you're leaving a single man with a Vietnamese baby.
You know how the U.S. Army be letting you take a souvenir baby?
Oh, yeah. It was the first day of training. You find a baby, you keep it, you feed it, you raise it, you teach it kung fu.
Anything that we know around here is if you find a baby, you keep that baby. That's yours.
And he named him Charlie.
I wrote that down too. It was fantastic.
He named his baby Charlie.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
It's so good.
After cutting his mama's head off and some incredible practical effects.
I also enjoy how when finally approached with the information that he goes, wait a minute, you're not on the up and up? He's so shocked that he killed his mom. He's just like, how could you do that? It's like, where did you think your mother was, brother? Come on.
I wanted Alan Alda to step into the scene and tell him to keep that chicken quiet.
It's not. It's like, it's so silly, but I do love the genuine emotion they try to like squeeze out of that scene that's just not there. But they're like, why would you do this to me, Father? I'm like, why would you trust this man that's like, 32 but trying to look 52? It's not good, dude.
I not to go too far down the plot synopsis here, but you could have made these two characters, the Huy Quan and Mike, uncle, or not Uncle Mike, but dad.
Yeah.
You could have made this something really interesting that, I raised this kid, yes, I've done some awful things, but I've done some good stuff too. This adopted son that was basically foisted upon me. Look, like I've done right. I did the right thing. I raised this kid. But no. At the end, you're no son of mine, and then just get into a fight immediately.
And the uncle, how dare you fight your own kid, when he doesn't fight back?
Oh my God!
I don't give a sweet crap about nothing.
It's amazing, like just like the heel turn of dad from, dude, you're going from 0 to 60 immediately. Like, what are you talking about? What are we doing? Why don't you make this interesting?
And when he got him in Vietnam, he was a baby, right? Like, it wasn't like he was like 12 or something like that. He was literally a baby. This guy's been holding on to this kid for nigh on 14 years at this point.
I want to see some scenes of his adopted dad changing diapers and stuff. Like, there's a whole lot of parenting. I want to see how this guy.
Oh my gosh, I could only imagine. That'd be hilarious, actually. See this guy try to be a parent.
Charlie and Mike seem about the same age.
Yeah.
So, like, did he have a wife who had an affair while he was in Vietnam, and he comes back and she's given birth as he brings home a new baby because he feels bad that she hasn't had a baby yet?
That would be funny if he walks in with a baby and goes, listen, I killed his mother, okay? This is not like that's his justification. It's just like, listen, I was not cheating on you. I killed his mom.
And if you get too mouthy, the other kid's going to end up with the same result.
I
killed one mom,
Charlie
I'll kill
has
another.
a social security number?
No chance.
He's just been raised in the backyard like a feral dog that showed up.
And he should have been raised by uncle a little bit more, because I love his kung fu training. Like, at least for some of these movies, at least he has them doing some stuff, and it's not just a couple of kicks and all of a sudden they know things. So at least he's putting them through some paces.
It's a weird combination of somebody who's watched a lot of kung fu movies in the past, but also there's the Karate Kid element to it. Also, It's both things. Oh, and has read Mark Twain.
I love that. Going ahead a little bit to the All Valley Championship when it finally happens. I like it that this is the Karate Kid if Johnny had won.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah.
The painting the wall I thought was such a horseshit blatant ripoff that I loved it. It was just great. And then we're going to the beach now. I'm like, I can't believe this dummy fell for that like nobody's business. So good. But he's nothing compared to my favorite two henchmen, who couldn't be more diametrically opposed. We got the one white guy who is in leather pants and a leather vest, and the black guy who is in sweatpants and a windbreaker, busting out of tennis shoes. Yeah.
Tank has a name, and Tank had the most amazing character arc. He's the only character here that had a really good arc.
He did have an arc. You are right. He is pretty much the only one who does have starts one place and ends another. Everybody else kind of stays the same. You're not wrong.
I love how he's like shouting at the top of his lungs out the window, I'm going to come down there and kill you guys. Where are you going? Oh, to see my friends, Mom. I just love that stuff. He steps, they home alone him in his own home somehow. He steps on the nails in the board and all that kind of thing.
It is 92.
Yeah, and I just got to say, man, Tank is a character who should have been maybe nominated for Best Supporting Actor, because he really breathes some life into this movie when he's on screen.
There was a moment in here that kind of rang true to me to a degree, because there was one time when like me and my brother and my cousins were at my grandparents' house, and you're at a different place that you're not kind of used to. Nobody in the neighborhood knows you. So we're all just kind of messing around outside. And at one point we all decided to gang up on Brian, my cousin, and we're all just, it's the fighting that guys do. You're punching somebody, but you're not really punching them. You're having fun. And this person busts out of their house and they just go, boys, stop it. What are you doing? Leave that boy alone. And like Brian, who is in the middle of getting punched and just looks up and goes, shut up. And then we just keep punching him and stuff like this. So I'm glad that there are indeed people out there that will stop those. But I do love that. No, we're just friends. We're having fun beating the crap out of each other in this yard. It's great.
I remember, in fifth grade, I moved to a new town. I moved from a town called Jackson to a town called Hazard. And I didn't know anybody in the neighborhood, but still, that didn't keep you from going outside to play in the summertime or whatever. So my first day out in the street beside our apartment, between our apartment and the liquor store, this little short, freckled kid with a buzz cut introduces himself to me. I don't remember what his name is at this point. But he's like, yeah, I'll introduce you to the other kids in the neighborhood or whatever. And we go, and there's like 3-4 other kids. He's like telling me all their names and everything. And then all of a sudden he points at me and says, get him.
Oh, Lord.
And they all kind of attacked me simultaneously. And, fortunately, I have my own defense mechanisms. I immediately started biting nipples and twisting nuts, so they quickly laid off on me. But that was a pretty scary move, and I felt like Tank was lured into that same kind of situation.
Tank is a victim of circumstance, is what you're saying?
Yes. I'm just telling you, if he'd bitten one nipple, they'd have left him alone.
That's where people aren't thinking.
That's why you should never fight a strange kid when you're wearing a tank top, buddy.
So when if we can get back to poor choices for a second.
Sure.
So the daughter, right? Because I've got this note. So the daughter, she gets away from the gang showing up to the crooked bank manager's house to murder him and his whole family, instead of just killing him in the parking garage, which would have been way easier, and you would never even had to have hand over the piece of pizza. So daughter gets away. Right. Daughter runs. How long do we think that she was running for? Because when she shows up at the uncle's place, she looks like she hopped a train, and she looks like a hobo, and like she's filthy. And
I'm thinking at least one state line was crossed.
It's kind of amazing, the transformation, and she's still holding the dog though, because she ran away with the dog. Which, by the way, another fun thing to watch for is she does she have a stuffed animal in her hand, or is it a real dog? And they go back and forth pretty fast and loose with that.
I got the idea she ran the equivalent of like San Jose to Portland.
That dog still, like, in all credit though, the dog still looks very excited when he's there. Just
very true.
Like, hey, I might have been going across state lines here, but I'm still having a good old time. Look at me.
Dogs like a road trip, I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, especially when you're holding them the whole damn time.
Also, how old are Huy Quan and Teemu Zach Morris supposed to be in this movie?
15, 16?
No, they got to be older than that.
I'm thinking they're supposed to be between 16 and 18, so I guess 17. However, I was kind of curious. I didn't look it up yet, but was Quan 30 yet when he made this film? I think 30-year-old Quan probably looked the same way he does here.
Not much different.
He's 12, right, during Temple?
Yeah.
And that's 10 years previous, so he is in his 20s.
Yeah.
God,
one thing I can promise you is he's not as young as he's supposed to be.
Right.
That is a youthful looking face right there. Yeah.
That is the problem we keep running into with that fella, isn't it?
It's just like, hey, I'm the patriarch of this family. You look like you're 12. Stop it.
I feel like we've been playing coy long enough, and we need to just lay this out here. And it's the most amazing, most beautiful, most inspired part of this movie.
All right.
Whose idea was the midget bar? Because that is why I would have loved this movie as a 18.
All of a sudden, we just end up in this bar.
For it.
Yeah, there's nothing there. We really don't say nothing about it. But all of a sudden, it's just like you're in a completely different movie where there's a little people bar, and then there's a head of it. He's like a maniacal guy. He's got like his little cane there and everything.
Right? Isn't that Mickey?
No, it looks like him though.
No.
Oh, I thought it might have been.
No, there's no famous midgets there.
No, these are all low renters. But man, oh man, do they get into it? They jumping over the bar and stuff and smashing people. I'm here for it.
I'm always up for a good midget beat down on regular sized people.
Beat them down, and just to just grab the little hands grabbing their head and stuff.
My favorite part of that scene is that Huy Quan is like barely taller than the guy he's fighting in that scene.
Yeah.
I think they missed a real golden opportunity to just recruit the midgets and have them help them out in the big final battle or something.
Hey, listen,
they were clearly better at fighting than the two kids were.
Speaking of fights, the only one I kind of thought like they thought they had like a really good one on their hand was like the strobe light fight and everything.
Oh God, unbearable. But yeah, I know what you mean. Somebody thought they were being Artsy.
They're like, this
Capital
is good.
Artsy.
And here's the thing, though, right? Because with 35, with film and everything, you've got your little space in between all of your frames and whatnot. So you actually have to have something that is hooked up to your strobe light to make sure that it strobes on the correct thing. So because otherwise, it's really going to screw up your timing there with your 24 frames a second and whatnot. So they had something like they spend a little money on this. They rented a good thing and were like, we're syncing this up. They thought this was hot shit.
Oh man,
and it's just okay.
I think they may have gotten lucky instead of syncing it up. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Maybe it's not.
I would side with Bruce on this, man. I can't imagine that those guys had a conversation about the technology of the thing they were shooting on. I just can't. I can't imagine it. I mean, why would you do that and not have lights in your movie?
And I know that if we knew more about the behind the scenes, there are absolutely going to be scenes where they forgot to turn on the camera. Like this would be a thing where somebody forgot to say lights and camera before they said action.
It definitely feels like we're kind of piecing together the story as they're shooting it here and go like, what did we shoot yesterday? I guess we can shoot this today. All right, we'll see if it works. Like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't all match together. Sorry. Uncle doesn't know how crutches work. That's a note I got written down.
It's like he can't figure it out.
Do I put it on the one where my good leg is? No, that's not how you walk on crutches, you dummy.
I think as an actor, the actor forgot which leg was supposed to be the bad one.
But Huy Quan does put it on the on his correct right side, where he's just like, put it under this one. And I also a subsequent note there says Uncle makes Samurai Cop look like Olivier.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this big finale at the All Valley Championship, the karate tournament, what were they trying to communicate here? Because the action was so at best, and then they just kind of have this beatdown where Mike beats up Huy Quan because he won't fight back, and then he finally decides to fight back and gets beaten up even further. What exactly were they communicating there? Is that the best way to reconciliation?
That's their Rocky moment, man.
I think it's the Emperor's throne room from Return of the Jedi, where like there's still good in him. I can sense it. Like I really think that's
you're not. Yeah, that's probably correct. It's just like you won't do that, brother. I love you. Don't kick me into oblivion, please.
There's also a few things about this movie that if you guys are okay with it, I got to backtrack on because that really there is some really good things about this movie. Like, like there was a time when we were a proper country where a guy who clearly worked and lived in the same auto body place, and he's filthy all the time. And that guy would own a conversion van, a really cool, sweet conversion van. And we're gone from that time now. And it's unfortunate because it was a way better time. If you saw somebody in a conversion van in the early 90s, you could guess what their life looked like pretty quickly. And
some of those things had water beds in them.
If you were lucky. If you were lucky.
And keep in mind, this is 92. So basically, if you had a big conversion van at the time, the A-Team isn't so far away. So you would paint your conversion van to look a little bit like B.A. Baracus's van from the A-Team. And we were still there at that time where
Wizards had fallen out of favor by 92.
Right. I mean, it's too late. And you're not going to have the big, like the little dome window in the back. Like those days are over. And it's not going to be, your brown and orange awesome looking vans from the 70s. It's going to be something that looks a lot like B.A. Baracus's van. And that's what we got here. And it was a magnificent time. It was a better time, a more civilized time.
And you've got me hankering for like a 1984 conversion van.
It's a cool, like when you are a bigger guy, all three of us are bigger guys. Like, we're for the most part, like, we're
leave our genitals out of this for a minute.
Adam, what are you? 6'3"?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I'm 6'3".
Same here.
No, you're not. No, you're not. But like you're not going to easily fit into a 67 Mustang, right?
It's all Miatas for me, baby.
And I can't even imagine you fitting in a Miata, Brit. So like with that being said, having a bigger vehicle like a conversion van or like a Jeep Wagoneer, like those are good cars when you are a bigger person, because you don't look. It doesn't look like oh, isn't that adorable? He thinks he can drive around in that Ferrari.
Do you think this is funny? This is the only vehicle I can afford.
Exactly.
I just want one so I can spend my lunch break lying on a futon for 20 minutes while I eat my sandwich. Like I would go to the van and go in through those double back doors every time.
So that's part one of this. Part two, but like the other note that I gotta bring up is the breakaway glass budget on this movie.
Yes.
I think it's the reason why they couldn't afford lights and instruments on this thing, because their breakaway glass budget was enormous on this show.
Huy Quan takes a couple of good hits too.
Every other scene, somebody's getting thrown through breakaway glass. And look, I'm here for it. I love it. I love seeing that because it feels like a bygone time, because people don't get thrown through windows in movies anymore because they haven't figured out how to do it in CGI. You have to actually buy it from Alfonso's or wherever in LA. So when it happens, it's like, oh man, this is so great. Like it just feels really great when you see it happen.
And they usually slow down the film a little bit.
Normally, when we watch a movie that's an action movie, we may talk about whether or not actors did their own stunts. Mm-hmm. Here is one of the few times that I could say the stuntmen did their own acting.
Yes, that is definitely what happened.
Oh,
yes, the stuntmen were doing their own acting.
Are you telling me that Uncle Rico wasn't the best, Shakespearean actor before this, and he just decided to learn a couple of karate kicks? You say, I don't know about that.
The last note I have here is that seeing KQ Kwan at this age, where he's 22, it seems a little unnatural because we know him as, like the cute prepubescent, right? Yeah. He's like 10, 12, 14 years old. And then you know him as the mid 40, 50-year-old man. You don't know him. It's sort of like the Jesus story, right? Where like you know him as a baby, and then you see him again when he's 33.
Fast forward a couple of years.
There's nothing in between there, right? And so it feels a little unnatural seeing 22-year-old horn doggy KQ Kwan. It's like to steal a line from 30 Rock. It's like watching Santa take a shower. Like there's nothing like disgusting about it. It just feels unnatural.
I'm trying to get a lady, and you're like, stop it. You're a child.
Please stop.
What I would really like to find out is that Jason David Frank had signed on for the Charlie role and not the other brother role.
Oh, wow.
You mentioned 30 Rock, and Tracy Jordan said he was almost in Rush Hour, but then they cast Jackie Chan instead.
Right. Great line. Since we know, like, seeing that flashback to Vietnam scene, since that was clearly shot at the same metal foundry that the bank vault is in.
They just put some wicker baskets in there.
Man, just terrific use of listen, this is the most bombed out place we have. We have it for the week. Let's say this is Vietnam.
Hey, I love that can-do attitude, and that's part of why I was hoping it was shot on 16 millimeter. Like, if you're going to cut corners, cut them all, buddy.
Guys, I have a review here, a special one. I want to read this to you. It comes from IMDb. This is 3 out of 10 stars. It was written November 28th, 2005, and it's entitled, Where Are They Now? This movie did suck. Bad, but I can't stop watching it because I know one of the actors. Eddie Savara and I used to serve on the same ship in the Navy, and true to the picture in the movie, he is a phenomenal martial artist. My only regret is that I've lost contact with him when he used to be one of my heroes because of this movie and because he taught me almost everything I know about the job that we did together in the Navy when he was my supervisor. He was a real talent. It was also great seeing Jonathan Huy Quan acting again. He sure turned out to be quite the fighter himself. Once again, I would definitely pay money to see a better quality movie made with this duo together again. Breathing Fire was definitely a B movie, but with the right directors and better funding, Eddie and Jonathan could really shine. So I thought that was funny that you'd said that, Bruce, because there's this guy all the way back in 2005 going, hey, if we just gave them something. Maybe it might be all right.
Breathing Fire 2, The Search for the Slice, or something like that. That would be a movie they could make now.
And there's one more here with another. Let me see if I can try to. There's another guy called Weirman One, and he wrote this one. Well, Law Dog, then we know each other. I too served on the ship at the same time, except I fixed your gear. Remember
Made on IMDb.
The entire audience of this movie are people from that ship.
He said, remember when they showed the movie in the lounge? No one would leave him alone after that. I was actually fairly good friends with him at the time, and he finally opened up about making it. True, it is a terrible movie, but Bolo Young, that makes up for a lot of the lousy. Sure, it's a B movie. Bolo Young is the headliner, for crying out loud, but if you watch it looking for top-notch editing, plotting, and cinematography, well, you're looking in the wrong place. If you watch it looking for martial arts scenes stitched together with a few connecting scenes, there are way worse ways to spend an afternoon, aren't there? That was from Weirmere One, who wrote that in 2011.
Do we have a Bolo Young in the modern era? Like, do we have a really big, beefy-looking Asian actor now?
Asian
like,
actor?
not chubby, but like beefy like him. Like, not just muscular, but that beefy muscular. He kind of had that WWE look about him.
It's been a minute since one that's been that big.
I'm sure that there's people I don't know of, but I don't think there's anybody who's reached Bolo Young's direct-to-video fame.
halfassmoviepod@gmail.com. Let us know about all that. I don't have no idea. Well, so we have to ask ourselves: is in this movie is Huy Quan doing it? Is he delivering
Honestly,
it
not
home?
really. He's not doing anything special, in my opinion. Sean may disagree.
I think he's terrible in this. Honestly, I do. But I think the problem is that they were like, oh, just do your thing, like be your natural self. And
it's amazing that when you lack writing, direction, and choreography, you don't look as good.
It's true. And as I've said before with KQ Kwan, I think he is amazing in the right thing, but he has to be in the right thing in order to be amazing. He is not somebody who can elevate something to a level that you need it to be. But with all that being said, it's not like he's going like this sucker here. Like the only thing I think that's holding it back is that, like, from being something where, like, people like Troll 2 or whatever, where like people are watching it for funsies, is because KQ Kwan's in it and people don't want to be mean towards him because he is clearly such a personable guy.
Yeah.
It kind of holds this movie back because you don't want to rip on him. Like, I'll be honest, I'm having trouble ripping on him, and he is terrible in this movie. He is really, really awful.
I guess my thing is
Adam. Yeah,
my thing is comparatively to the other guys, he's actually decent. He's not good in this comparatively to his other work, but compared to the people that he's in the scenes with, I'm taking him.
He has a charisma for sure. But do you believe for a single second that what is coming out of his mouth is what that is a character? Like, I don't think so.
No. There are no actual human beings in this movie.
For an accomplished actor.
I know.
Now, I've got a tough one for you. If you had to recast that role of KQ Kwan's in this, who would you do it with? I have an answer.
You can go Ernie Reyes Jr. at this
son of a bitch. Too. What are we all taking? All right, we are. Then I guess we're all on the same page.
Turtles. Yeah, you go Ernie Reyes Jr. Or as Alex Cottle, longtime listener and friend of the show, suggested, you can always use the kid from Lone Wolf and Cub in any role that KQ Kwan was in.
As long as he's out of prison.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ernie Reyes Jr. is clearly the most obvious answer for this. And that
better
guy
martial artist, worse actor, perfect for this movie.
Well,
yep.
I don't know. He probably would have been at least on par with the acting in the rest of this film. So I think it'd have been.
That's what I'm saying. A worse actor.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I got you.
A good actor.
I got you.
He might actually be a better choice. Yeah.
Well, movies only come in two forms: art or fart. Bruce, Breathing Fire from 1991. Art or fart for you?
Oh man, this is art. This is why movies exist, is for weird things like this. And I don't know if they ever made the show. I know I heard people talking about it for a while, called The Continental. It was like a spinoff of John Wick, but it was all about the hotel.
Oh yeah.
I would watch a spin-off show on Max. It's just about the midget bar. So yeah, this movie's definitely art. It leaves me longing for more in a weird way I'm not proud of.
I think when old is Lance is his name, the black guy who was in the John Wick. I think when he died, hopefully that the idea for that kind of went with him, because it's like you think that you want that, but I don't think you do. I don't think you want a continental show. Kind of tough to have the hotel
without the concierge.
Yeah, exactly. And you lose that, you've kind of lost the whole thing.
Especially it would have to be a prequel, and how do you make a prequel and explain he's dead, or maybe he hadn't been hired yet? I don't know.
No good. Bad idea. Don't do that. Sean?
It did come out.
Oh, yeah?
The Continental was out.
Oh, so it was a grand hit, was it?
Yeah.
I feel comfortable not having seen it.
That really shows you, like, it had zero zeitgeist boom. No one even knew it was a thing. That's pretty sad.
But I'm sure that won't be the case for this ballerina movie coming out.
Hey, listen.
3-part series.
Oh my word. Well, okay. At least that's not like we've got 3 8-season episodes or some bullcrap planned like that like really nobody.
Well, it was supposed to be 20. They had a 26 episode order and they got canceled after 3.
Yeah, that makes sense.
63% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, not so bad.
That's pretty good for them.
Bad.
This is fart for me. This is a big old giant fart. This is it's not even an hour and a half, but it did feel like 3 days, and it was
yeah.
Now, granted, a lot happens in the movie. There's a lot of bullcrap in this movie that you're just like, we're doing what now? there is a level of that, but it's a rough ride there, boy. I'll tell you that much. So that's a fart for me.
This has me wondering if we should watch a Gordon Ho movie sometimes, because this felt very Gordon Ho at times.
I'm giving it a fart as well. With that being said, like, this movie is just trash, like straight trash, but it's fun. It's a fun thing to watch. The at issue here is how much garbage are you able to watch? Because the three of us are able to take a lot. Like, we can watch a lot of garbage. I think that I probably have the least amount of trashiness that I can watch of the three of us.
Yeah, Bruce is the worst. We know that.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, man, he talks about Full Moon like it's like a lover he scorned 20 years ago. But like the with that being said, I have a very low tolerance for watching garbage movies, and I had a great time watching this. Like I said in the pre-show to you, Adam, I was like, you are back in form, man, because this was such a find. And it really is. Like, if you have a high tolerance for garbage, you are going to love this movie. And it is something where it doesn't even take a long time to get into it. Like, within the first 10 minutes, you will know whether or not you can watch the rest of this
a lot
movie.
Happens in those 10, 20 minutes.
Right.
You're like, well, you'll either love it or hate it, and you can take it or leave it at that point. But it's definitely...
It is confusing because it's poorly made. It's a poorly made movie. At the beginning of this movie, it's fairly confusing. But then you kind of figure it out.
You reach in and just go, oh, it's all garbage. Let's float down this garbage river together. Maybe
think of it as an episode of the A-Team where the A-Team chose not to accept the mission.
That's funny. That is what this is. It totally is. Like, where's Michael Knight in his cool car? Oh, I guess he did. I guess he's not showing up this week. What about Simon and Simon? Where are they?
Riptide with the little robot.
Riptide is a really good one too.
I can give you the Asian kid from Temple of Doom. Okay, good. Let's roll. I'm like, all right, I guess that's
Golden Monkey, but it's a good show.
Indeed. Well, that'll do it, everybody. The Huy Quan month has just finished up here and everything, but fear not. We've got another one coming, and it's going to be on account of you fine folks voting over at patreon.com/HMP. Again, pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone, and you actually get to steer the ship and tell us which way you want to go. So we're probably going to close the voting here on Wednesday and everything, but our theme for our upcoming month here is the Rising Stars. So we got a lot of folks that are kind of coming up, being bigger and bigger actors and whatnot. We want to see where they kind of started and stuff. So here are the options for you with which to choose from. We have Austin Butler, Florence Pugh, Nicholas Hoult, Saoirse Ronan, and Tony Revolori. So quite a wide variety of young actors here and everything, and they're all kind of kicking up and stuff like that. So head on out there to patreon.com/HMP, join up at any level and help steer this show for a whole month. And it's going to be on account of you and the little button that you clicked on there. That's got to be some cool power to have in the back pocket, right?
If I'm pulling for, who was that last guy again? Tony Revolori?
Tony Revolori.
That's what I'm pulling for.
I think most folks will know him as Flash in the Spider-Man movies.
Oh, I take it back.
That guy's pretty good. What are you talking about?
Yeah, he's awesome.
I don't like Italians.
Oh, well, I think he's not Italian.
He's definitely dirty-blooded somehow.
Yeah, he's got a little. I forget where he's from. I remember reading the whole thing once, but I've forgotten because I don't retain information well. And hopefully you've retained the joy in your heart for this year podcast. We really appreciate that. Bruce, in the meantime, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You know, it's shocking to me how many people have not yet seen Werewolf Fighter. So I just want to remind you, Werewolf Fighter's out there. It's not monetized. I get nothing out of you watching it other than sharing something I worked hard on. So it is an award-winning extended short, 38 minutes of your life that, what's 38 minutes matter? Come on. And you won't think at all about any current events when you're watching it. Because
it travels faster.
That happened after 86.
Yeah, it travels faster than breathing fire. I will let you know that.
Yeah. Although an equal amount of confusion with the plot.
That's true, though. Sean, what else?
Go to our YouTube channel. There's a lot to choose from there. Adam is putting in the time, putting in the effort. Go see some of his videos. Also, our show is up there.
You got all those fun things, man. So check all that kind of good stuff out, and join us back here next week for a little bit more fun and entertainment here. And especially, again, thank you to the folks over at patreon.com/HMP for voting and making it happen here and everything. That will do it for this episode of HMP. Join us next week for our Patreon selection for Sweet Sean's and Kovacs from the internet. Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portress. Until next time, be a dirty baby and leave a comment for your mom.